Well, hello, folks out there in YouTube land. Got a big show lined up for you. Let's get right on into it. All right, we got a lot to talk about today. We got to discuss whether Saban actually retired or not, and I definitely have my questions. And in the second half of the show, we're going to talk a little bit about Dalton Connect, what an unreal season he's having. It's been amazing. And I know you Bama fans are out there going, oh yeah, he retired. Kalen DeBoer's the head coach. He's in charge. You don't have any proof of that.
I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
Yeah, you can't handle the truth, but I'm going to give you the truth today because I think he's still there, and I think he's got a lot of power, and I think he's going to have a lot of say over this team. And don't you worry, I'll bring the receipts.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Get your digital cameras ready.
Exactly. So let's get into this. And I'm actually going to bring you quite a bit of proof that I think he's very much still involved. We know he's got an office there. We know he's meeting with the coaches. There's a lot going on with Nick Saban, and I think the reason he retired, and I think he kind of retired a little bit early, was because of the transfer portal, the NIL, the money going to the players. He didn't care for all of that, and he felt like it would ruin the game. And especially now that you can transfer each year, it's really driven him crazy because, look, recruiting's hard. And he would spend an entire month recruiting and not even come home at times. He was the best recruiter probably in the history of college football. The guy got 9 5-stars his last big season. And the problem was you couldn't keep him. Because, look, they're going to transfer out the second, they're not getting to play. So I think he got tired of that. And then plus I told you he bought an $18 million home down in Florida in Palm Beach, which is, that's where Tiger Woods and all the big dogs are. And you're not going to buy an $18 million house in this environment because he obviously had to overpay unless you're planning on retiring fairly soon. So that's why I felt like he'd probably retire. And I totally understand it. The guy's done it all. I mean, he's won everything you can win. But I don't think the coaching bug's out of him. I think he still wants to be coach. It's just he wants to not deal with all the crap. So he's still got his office there. And like I said, let's get into this. Now, this is on A to Z Sports by Zach Reagan. And if you're not reading Zach Reagan, I don't know what to tell you. The guy's a really good writer, and he writes very interesting stories. It's, again, A to Z Sports. And we're actually blessed. We've got a lot of really good journalists that cover the Vols and the SEC. And his story says, Nick Saban is continuing to meddle in Alabama football after retiring. Talks about the Crimson Tide's new defensive coordinator, former South Alabama head coach Kane Womack. Talked about this week that he's met with Saban 2 separate times about the defense. And it says apparently the goal is to make the defense under new Alabama head coach Kalen DeBoer the same or close to the same as it was under Saban. And he shows this under X by Brandon Marcello. It says Kalen DeBoer's staff is consulting with Nick Saban to adapt Saban's defense under the new staff. It says the man's shadow is long. It says Alabama DC Kane Womack met with Nick Saban for a second time this morning about Alabama's defense. Womack told his wife it was like cramming for a final before the meeting. Now, really? You're cramming for a final to meet with Saban about your defense? He's going over the defense with you and showing you what you need to do. That's pretty obvious. So they're wanting to keep the defense that they've had for the most part. They may change it up a little bit for what Womack likes, but it sounds like Saban's going to be heavily involved in the defense.
I am not.
Defense, which is that's his specialty. Look, everybody knows Saban's a great defensive mind, especially in the secondary. So, I don't know that it's a bad idea, but it's probably a bad idea. And it says this sounds great on paper, but it's a situation that almost never works out. I agree. It says Saban, who still has an office on campus at Alabama, needs to back off. I don't see this working out well long term, but I just don't think Nick was ready to retire. I think he kind of got forced out by all the changes. And you can understand, look, when you've been as successful as he is, you don't want to see a bunch of change macro. And that's what's happened to him. Now, you're going to say, oh, well, this is just one man's opinion who wrote an article, etc. Okay. Normally, when I want to see what's going on with Alabama, I'll check out like Kangaroo Black or Bama Standard or Matt Be Great or one of those folks that cover Alabama on a daily basis or on a regular basis. Well, let's see what Kangaroo has to say about all this, since I'm making it up. And before I go any farther, for you Alabama fans, look, I know this is going to be kind of painful. Not only have I shown you what a sports writer thinks, I'm going to show you what an Alabama YouTuber thinks. And this could be difficult for you. So look, what you need to do if you're somebody that's real sensitive and you have a tough time with anything that's not what you want to hear, just do what's necessary. Get your participation trophy and just hold it. That'll help. Put on your Gen Z toboggan. I know it's not 95 degrees in the summer like you like it, but it'll still help. That toboggan will make you feel a little bit better. And then, of course, find your safe space.
Everyone likes me and thinks I'm great in my safe space.
My safe space.
All right, so if you've done all those things, you'll probably be okay, or you've probably already checked out, and that's okay too. Look, I'm not looking to upset anybody, okay? That's just not how I roll. Y'all know that if you've watched this show. I'm very sensitive. That's right. So don't get all upset. You've had your opportunity to skip out. Now I'm going to show you some more proof that Saban's still heavily involved in this team and probably still trying to be the coach, kind of.
He came out and said that he would be a fool not to seek the advice of the greatest coach of all time, especially when he's in the same building. That's not to say that Kalen DeBoer is going to try to do things like Nick Saban did. That's not to say that. Nick Saban meeting with Kane Womack, giving, Kane Womack seeking advice, just like Kalen DeBoer. That's not to say that Kane Womack is going to try to run the same defense that Nick Saban ran. Kane Womack came out and talked about how Nick Saban is helping him install his new defense at the University of Alabama. Remember, they had a meeting on last week, Wednesday. But anyway, Womack said he had an in-person meeting with Saban on Wednesday, last Wednesday, before appearing on the Next Round live internet show. But anyway, so hey, Nick Saban helping him implement his offense at the University of Alabama. Nick Saban knows these players. He knows the ins and out, the inner workings of the University of Alabama football. Every freaking inch of it, he was there for 17 years, winning 6 national championships and 10, maybe 11 SEC championships. Kane Womack said he told his wife, man, that it was like cramming for a final the night before, making sure that all my cut-ups and everything was ready to go for the meeting. Because you got to prepare. You got to prepare when you walk into a meeting with the great one, Nick Saban, the greatest college football coach of all time. You got to be prepared. All right? You can't go in there ill-prepared and have Nick Saban to embarrass you.
Kind of sounds like going in for a meeting with your boss, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. Now, I know some of y'all are going to say I edited that to, kind of fit my narrative.
How dare you?
I would never do that. I might have taken some liberty in a few little places to make it fit my narrative a little bit. But you get the gist. You can only do so much. You got to understand, they've had the same coach for 17 years and won 6 national titles. So look, change is hard. And Kalen DeBoer lost his offensive coordinator and his offensive line coach, both of which are outstanding, went to the NFL. And that's because of transfer portal, NIL money, and things like that. Which is, look, a lot of coaches are leaving the college game because it is the Wild West. And it didn't have to be this bad, but the NCAA, they screw up everything. They just can't help it. Instead of actually trying to work through the process and accepting that kids are going to get paid, they had to go the opposite. And they had to be, the new sheriff in town and all this crap with Charlie Baker and his crew. And, they got smacked down. I tried to tell them over and over, don't mess with the Vols. Well, guess what happened?
You're all clear, kid. Now let's blow this thing and go home. Stand by.
Yep, that's what happened in the NCAA. We wore them out. And I'm here for it and enjoyed it. But anyway, I did want to show you that. It does look like Saban is heavily involved with Alabama and going to continue to at least be an assistant coach there. But it almost feels like he's so big and has so much panache that he may be calling a lot of shots there. And it's going to be difficult for DeBoer and Womack to really be their own coaches there. It's going to be a little tricky. And it's hard to tell Nick Saban to get out. It's just, come on. So it might get a little tricky down there. We'll see. It would be very hard to follow Nick Saban. It just really would. And Kangaroo's actually a pretty good dude. And he doesn't mind me taking a few clips here and there, which tells you he's a good dude. So anyway, check him out if you hadn't seen him. He's fun. Now we need to talk about Dalton Connect, the SEC, because we got it. Speaking of Alabama, we got to go down to Alabama this weekend and play them, and it's pretty much going to be for the SEC title, the regular season in basketball. I hope that happens in football this year. That's going to be an exciting game at Neyland. Oh, man. But anyway, big game coming Saturday. And Dalton Connect went off against Auburn at Thompson Bowling. I mean, he went bananas. And you can see here, this is what he scored, 39 points. It was unbelievable. He was 5 for 8 from three-point land, which is 62%, 10 for 12 from the free throw line, and 12 from 21 overall. Played 33 minutes. Just played an outstanding game. And the guy was in foul trouble. He had to be careful on defense because he got 2 fouls right off the bat. But what a ball game. We won by 8. It was a terrific game. I think it was, 92-84? And Dalton pretty much scores what he wants. When we beat up on a team pretty easily, he'll sort of back off and score like 15, 20 points. When we need him to score 30 or 40, he just does it.
He's good. He's real good. The name is Dalton.
He scored 39 twice now. And he scored a 38, a 36, 34, all down the lines. When we need him to score, he just kind of takes over. It's what he does. So that's really nice to have, because there are times, man, when you're playing against tough defenses, it's hard to score. They couldn't stop Dalton. They just couldn't. He would either hit a three, or they'd come up to him, he'd go around, he'd slam it. Or he would hit a mid-range jumper. There is no way to stop him. He can go to his left, he can go to his right. He's like a slightly shorter Larry Bird. And the night before, he shot like 1,000 three-pointers, which is what he does every day. He's always shooting 1,000 three-pointers or 1,000 free throws. Guy lives in the gym. That's another Larry Bird type mindset. But the reason this is such a big game coming up against Alabama, we're tied with them at 12-3. So this game, and we beat Alabama at Thompson Bowling at home. But this is a huge game, because if Alabama beats us down there, and they're going to be favored almost certainly, because basketball, it's tough to go on the road and win against another really good team. But they'll go one game up on us. If we beat them, we're in great shape. We've got the tiebreaker against them. We'll have beaten them twice, and we'll have a one-game lead. Then the next week, though, we've got to go play South Carolina, and South Carolina's only one game behind us, and they have an easier schedule. See, we've got to play Alabama, South Carolina, and Kentucky, and Alabama and South Carolina are on the road. And South Carolina actually beat us at Thompson Bowling, which was a tough loss. And then we play Kentucky at home. So we've got 3 really tough games remaining after an Auburn game. So we had the 4 toughest games remaining probably in the country. And what we've got to do is pretty much win 2 out of the next 3 in order to win the SEC title. And it's got to be the right 2 out of 3 too. It can't be the wrong ones. Because here's what Alabama's got left. They play us Saturday. Then they play at Florida. This is at Florida at 9 o'clock on Tuesday. And then they've got Arkansas at Alabama. And they'll win that game. So they've only got 2 tough games left, which is Tennessee at Alabama. Then they got to go to Florida, which is not an easy win. This is the key game for Bama and Tennessee, really. This is for probably all the marbles. Certainly for Alabama must win this game. They have to win the game in order to win the SEC. And South Carolina, they are the fly in the ointment. They're playing Florida, which is at South Carolina this Saturday. Then they play us on Wednesday, and that's at South Carolina again. And then they play Mississippi State. So for them, they could sneak up and win the SEC if they win these last 3 games and beat us. And it's at South Carolina, and we're not a good matchup against them. For some reason, they match up well against us. So that's another problematic team. And then Kentucky's the dark horse. They've got Arkansas Saturday, then they've got Vanderbilt. So they'll win both those games. So they could sneak up somehow and grab a part of this if everything played out perfect, and they would have to beat us at Thompson Bowling. And we've got the tiebreaker against them right now because we beat them at Rupp. That was during their 3-game sweep where they got beat 3 times at Rupp Arena, which has never happened in the history of that arena. So, but here's the thing about Kentucky. Sometimes they get really good at the end because they start out with all those freshmen, 5-stars, and then they start kind of getting their feet under them towards the end of the year. So lots going on. This is going to be a crazy week coming up. And that game against Alabama is huge. It's for all the marbles as far as SEC regular season. Now, I realize this is a tournament game now. It's all about March Madness. But I still want to win the SEC, and I promise you Alabama does. Because that would be winning both SECs. They will have won the football and the basketball. And I really don't want them winning both.
That's not fair.
Don't raise your voice to me.
It's enough that they already got one. So anyway, I wanted to cover those two stories today. First of all, Alabama with Nick Saban. Of course, Dalton Connect and the SEC basketball, that was outstanding. Last night was one of the most fun games I've ever watched in the history of Tennessee basketball. He took over the game, and Thompson Bowling in midweek the roof came off the place. And Auburn's used to playing in the jungle. Their gymnasium holds like 9,000, but it's tough to play down there. It's loud, and the fans are on top of you. But I'll tell you what, Thompson Bowling was wild last night. It was loud, and when Dalton Connect hit that dunk, I thought literally the entire place was going to explode. It was amazing. I tell you, between football, basketball, and baseball, Tennessee's got it going pretty darn good. So anyway, it's going to be a fun week. And if you like this content, be sure to hit that like button. Let's continue to cover the SEC, my Vols, and all those big stories out there. Usually football, but sometimes basketball and baseball. If you've not subscribed, why not? 50% of y'all have not subscribed. I don't get it.
You're killing me, Smalls.
You're killing me, Smalls. Just hit this little button right here. It doesn't cost you a dime. And look, if you're watching it on TV and you don't know how to do that, just go on your phone. That's all you got to do. Just go on your phone, hit the YouTube app, go to one of my videos, and at the end, the easiest thing to do, just go all the way to the end of the video and hit that little button right there. It'll subscribe you. If you don't know how to do it on TV, you can do it on the phone. I know a lot of you watch it on TV. We're not sure how to do that. And I understand that, believe me. But anyway, it's just food for thought. And right over here is the most recent video YouTube thinks you'll enjoy based on your viewing history. And we'll see you next time on Sports Talk Jay.